Watchers call. Whispers from the eternal void.
I am Interrogator Lyra Voss of the Ordo Xenos, attached to Magos explorator Kelid IX's expedition to the Blackstone fragment designated Umbral Sanctum, and the fortress answered my litany before I spoke it. The Vox prayer was still gathering in my chest when the return transmission issued from the stone itself in my own cadence, syllables marching out of the dark as if my lungs had been relocated inside the walls. I tasted iron and ozone through a sealed rebreather as though I had bitten a live cable. A triple chime pulsed through the hull, clean, bell-clear, every 37 seconds by my chronometer, though external auspex insisted we floated in soundless vacuum. That was the first rule it broke. It would not be the last. The fragment drifts in decaying orbit above Haraxos Minor, a shard of xenotech architecture torn from some greater whole during the Gothic War's final campaigns. Orbital decay calculations give us 17 hours before atmospheric kiss ignites the Blackstone's exotic matter composition in a conflagration visible from 3 systems away. Our shuttle, the Penitent's Grace, lacks thrust capacity for safe distance if detonation occurs while docked. Mission parameters remain brutally simple. Establish stable corridors, locate orbital control mechanisms, or accept death as the Emperor's will. Vox//teamlink//openvoss. To all call signs. Confirm ingress posture. Kelid IX's cortex halo clicked, mechadendrites drawing the sign of the cog and skull, while muttering Binharic cant that sounded suspiciously like fear. Skitari Alpha Orin 27 replied in clipped machine code, meaning we are arrayed like teeth. 2 Tempestus Scion fire teams locked mag boots to the shuttle's throat gantry, saints' candles guttering on chest shrines, flames leaning toward the black as if void had acquired breath. Choir adept Illyra Ree sat motionless, palms flat, lips moving in null rites that left air colder around her. The impossible transmission violated every principle of Blackstone behavior, documented in 3 millennia of Imperial study. These structures absorb warp energy like thirsty stone drinks water, creating null zones where psychic phenomena wither. They do not anticipate. They do not respond. They certainly do not speak with stolen voices, plucked from thoughts not yet formed. Yet evidence registered clearly on Vox recorders, my prayer answered by my own lips, speaking from within a structure that should remain silent as the grave. A previous Skitari vanguard had gone dark beyond the breach 6 hours earlier, their final transmission reporting successful ingress, before complete silence swallowed their voices. Standard protocol demanded abort and reinforcement request, but decay curves allowed no time for proper support. We would enter alone or watch a world burn. Environmental anomalies manifested as we approached breach position. Frost formed inside helmet visors despite intact seals and regulated atmosphere, ice crystals, following impossible spiral patterns that hurt to observe directly. Atmospheric readings confirmed hard vacuum, yet air tasted metallic when I cracked my seal momentarily. The taste lingered like old blood, wrong and persistent. The triple chime penetrated our sealed compartment, 3 descending notes that bypassed hearing entirely, vibrating through bone and sinew with mechanical precision. Auspex ENV reading vacuum confirmed. Temperature external -148. Internal bleed-through contradictory. Humidity spikes localized. Kelid IX's augmetic sensors registered no acoustic source for the chimes, yet we heard them clearly. His projection displayed falling curves and dire mathematics. 17 hours until ignition. No margin for delay or error. Melta charges cut through Blackstone like heated blades through ice, though material composition should resist such mundane tools. The breach opened into octagonal corridors stretching beyond luminator range, angles subtly wrong in ways making depth perception unreliable. Walls curved when they should remain straight, creating optical illusions suggesting vast distances compressed into impossible spaces. My boots rang against deck plating with sounds arriving fractions of seconds late, as if the structure struggled to process our presence. We advanced using standard protocols, overlapping arcs, 15-pace intervals, rear guard stagger. The immediate interior presented mirror black panels refusing to reflect lumen flare. Geometry insisted on wrongness, edge lines curving toward each other without meeting, corners that summed incorrectly when observed peripherally. Orin 27's galvanic carbine tracked like divining rod, while augmetic fingers twitched through catechisms of fire. Noosphere broadcast null. Expected Blackstone static was not static here, but quiet that pressed inward, sound absorption properties seemingly learning to enjoy swallowing. Ree's sanctioned senses skated across it with visible winces. "No warp signature," she reported, voice carrying unfamiliar chill. "Just less." I activated Vox Recorder for standard documentation, maintaining clinical tone despite growing unease crawling up my spine like ice water. Interrogator Voss, mission log supplemental, breach successful at 1432, proceeding with primary survey of octagonal corridor systems, ambient temperature -12 Celsius, humidity readings impossible given vacuum conditions. The words died as someone finished my sentence, my own voice speaking from deeper within the structure, completing thoughts not yet formed. Environmental seals maintaining integrity despite atmospheric paradox. Triple chime interval decreasing to 33 seconds. Geometric anomalies consistent with non-Euclidean architecture. Internal chronometer marked each impossibility with digital precision. We made signs of the Aquila, some with hands, some with machine, while I recited internal litanies, count 9 breaths, count 9, more, break the number. The chime returned punctually, now accompanied by harmonic overtones splitting into 9 distinct frequencies. Corridor lights flickered when sound peaked, feeds showing passages offset by reality's thumb width. Advancing 212 meters by step counter returned us to breach point by rangefinder, boot prints crossing ahead with treads inverted as if steps had unwalked themselves. Kelad 9 flooded passages with auspex pulses and incense, while servo skull bobbed ahead. Brazier flame leaning toward walls when passing protrusions. If atmosphere existed, it held opinions. Environmental transformation accelerated. Air moved through invisible lungs, exhaling breath smelling of old incense and rain that never fell. Frost sublimated in impossible patterns while humidity rose without medium. The triple chime evolved, harmonics stacking into complex arrangements that suggested meaning beyond sound. On the 8th curve, corridor bulged, iris sealed tight in stone. Orin 27 raised hand. We froze. Noosphere sharpened like blade as Kelad 9 injected machine prayer strings into local environment. The iris twitched. Triple chime strobed, 3 notes becoming 9 in descending cascade. My throat filled with first syllables of command while another voice finished an instant ahead. My voice emptied of breath and context. Hold position. Noosphere spike. 9.9 second burst registered. Content mirroring current log entries, concluded with sentence I hadn't yet formed. Translation unnecessary. I heard myself speak from within darkness ahead. Clean waiting tone requiring no lungs. We proceed because we must. The iris collapsed open without contact, exhaling warm, humid air, carrying scents of candle wax and stone kept underground too long. Frost hissed across faceplates as impossible atmosphere met void-cold corridors. For one heartbeat, I experienced skull being emptied gently, making room for echoes of words not yet spoken, while somewhere in the dark beyond, my own breathing transmitted back to me like prayer, answered by absence itself. We advance in tactical formation through corridors that refuse to acknowledge Imperial doctrine. I maintain point position with Kelid 9's servo skull, providing overwatch, mechadendrites twitching through binharic ablutions that taste of oil and copper fear. Oran 27 holds left flank with galvanic carbine tracking geometric impossibilities, while Tempestus Scions Darik and Valen establish overlapping rear coverage. Ree moves between us like sanctified smoke, her dilated eyes braced against glare that doesn't exist. The octagonal passage curves with gentle grace that makes soldiers uneasy, deck plates ringing with each footfall, though Auspex insists we walk through hard vacuum. My chronometer marks 212 meters of forward progress when rangefinder returns impossible readings. We stand at breach point again. Frost patterns undisturbed on bulkhead seams where our Melta charges carved entry. Yet our boot prints cross ahead with treads inverted as if we had walked backward while moving forward. The cold air tastes of ozone and ancient dust through sealed rebreathers. Atmospheric readings confirming vacuum despite visible condensation, forming octagonal crystals on our armor seals. This isn't a loop, it's denial of linear causality itself. The triple chime pulses every 33 seconds now, 4 beats faster than initial contact. Temporal distortion manifests subtly, words arriving before lips move, ammunition counters flickering between states, my thoughts lagging fractions behind reality that has begun to stutter. Kelid 9's Auspex insists on vacuum while moisture beads impossible geometric patterns on Oran 27's augmetic plates. The Omnissiah's knowledge finds no purchase here. The Magos transmits on private channel, Vox grill abraded with genuine fear. Environmental impossibilities compound with each step. Air moves through sealed corridors carrying scents of ash and dying candles, though no flames burn. Impossible wind stirs fine motes that dance with unnatural grace in our lumen beams, each particle a tiny memory of immolation. Temperature fluctuates without pattern, -12 Celsius dropping to humid 20 degrees. Rapid changes causing breath to plume then vanish instantly. Corridor walls reveal elaborate murals carved directly into Blackstone's mirror surface, high Gothic catechism lines mapped onto geometric solids with devotional precision. The litany of illumination corresponds to a non-Euclidean polyhedron that causes searing pain when observed directly, cognitive dissonance threatening to crack skulls, forcing peripheral vision to parse angles that shift with observation. Kelid 9's augmetic optics click frantically, mechanical focusing systems struggling with geometry that changes based on viewing angle. Rust-red smears accent the carvings, resolving under inspection into braided nerve sinew, calcified into Blackstone ridges like prayers knotted from flesh. The organic material appears fossilized, yet registers warm to touch, pulse patterns visible through translucent sections, suggesting circulation without blood. Someone or something has been woven into the fortress itself, processed and integrated into structural components. Body horror subtle and insidious, threaded through the environment like foreshadowing made manifest. No warp signature, Ree reports through gritted teeth, sanctioned abilities skating across surfaces that shouldn't exist. Only quiet that presses inward like held breath. The silence has texture, coarse sand grinding at thought edges. Her voice carries strain as psychic senses encounter phenomena beyond training parameters. Standard null zone protocols prove inadequate for whatever emanates from these walls. The triple chime evolves as we advance, harmonics stacking into complex arrangements, bypassing hearing to vibrate through bone directly. 3 notes become 6, then 9, frequencies splitting and recombining while Orin 27's augmetic implants spark at acoustic peaks. Saints' candles flicker on chest shrines, flames leaning toward organic wall protrusions as if atmosphere holds opinions about sanctity. Tactical formation maintains despite mounting wrongness. Overlapping fields of fire, 15-pace intervals, rear guard protocols executed with tempestuous precision, while Skitarii doctrine provides mechanical reliability in increasingly unreliable circumstances. The Emperor's light wavers but doesn't die, psychological anchor against geometry that sums incorrectly and corners approaching without meeting. Servo Skull detects cellular activity within wall structures, organic components maintaining minimal life functions despite calcification. Temperature variations suggest circulation patterns, warmth bleeding through stone where nerve sinew concentrates. It's learning our prayers, Re whispers, hand pressed to temple, parsing devotional structure, extracting mathematical components from liturgical content. Environmental transformation accelerates beyond atmospheric anomaly. Impossible wind carries ash tasting of burned parchment and extinguished hope. Frost sublimates in spiral patterns while humidity rises without medium, creating conditions existing only in theoretical models. The organic wall components pulse in rhythm with harmonic sequences, suggesting coordination between architectural elements and acoustic phenomena. Corridor lights gutter as the 9-note sequence reaches crescendo, luminator arrays flickering in patterns matching acoustic peaks. The impossible wind lifts ash in eddies that curl around our boots, each mote drifting like memory made visible. In sealed passages where sound should die, we hear breathing that isn't ours, footsteps echoing from directions that don't exist. Orin 27's augmetic receivers spike as Skitarii can't transmission registers on secure frequencies. His Cortex implants process machine code identifying his own Vanguard squad. Thale 19, combat servitors, standard operational update, except timestamp reads 6 minutes in the future and transmission originates from deeper within the structure where no Imperial forces should exist. The harmonic sequence collapses into silence so complete it feels like physical pressure, then rebuilds from whispers into full 9-note cascade. Corridor lights gutter like candles blown by breath that has no lungs. In that moment of absolute quiet, I hear my own voice transmitted back from passages ahead, speaking words I haven't yet thought. The geometry is counting us. Orin 27's head snaps toward the sound, optical lenses focusing on nothing as his machine mind seizes on temporal paradox that shouldn't exist. The 9 notes swell while something in the dark adjusts itself to listen, and I realize we're not just being observed. We're being measured, parsed, prepared for integration into whatever waits deeper in the umbral sanctum's mathematical heart. We cross the threshold and sound dies completely, swallowed by silence so absolute it presses inward like physical weight against eardrums. Footfalls that rang against deck plating moments before now meet stone with muffled impacts, while rebreather hiss vanishes into nothing, despite sealed atmospheric systems. The quiet has texture, coarse sand grinding at thought edges, abrading consciousness with each heartbeat that thunders inside skulls. Even Orin 27's servo motor hum cuts to nothing, augmetic systems operating in perfect silence that violates basic mechanical principles. The chamber opens cathedral-wide with impossible acoustics, octagonal walls stretching toward a ceiling lost beyond luminator range. We advance in tactical formation despite mounting wrongness. Scions Darik and Valen establish overlapping defensive positions, saints' candles guttering on chest shrines, as flames lean toward the chamber's heart with unnatural attraction. Orin 27 maintains rearguard coverage, while augmetic sensors catalog structural anomalies, machine mind processing impossibilities through increasingly strained doctrinal filters. The centerpiece dominates with mathematical precision, a Blackstone altar lattice inscribed with numerals 3927 in Gothic script that pulses with faint internal light. Surrounding this altar stands a cone of void black material 2 meters tall, surface texture suggesting liquid obsidian frozen mid-flow. The cone devours luminator beams without reflection, creating visual distortions that make depth perception unreliable. Light bends around its edges like water flowing around stone, not darkness but genuine absence of illumination, an anti-flame consuming photons with ravenous hunger. 3 servitors hang crucified in wall alcoves, fused to Blackstone by obsidian filaments threading through augmetic ports and flesh alike. Their mouths aren't sealed with thread or wax, but grown shut with black calcite deposits, lips merged into seamless mineral surfaces polished like grave markers. Chest vox grills pulse silently in perfect rhythm, with the triple chime we can no longer hear but feel vibrating through bone marrow. Red indicator lights blink in sequence, 3-9-27, matching altar numerals with devotional synchronicity, while optical lenses track our movement with mechanical precision despite obvious death. Kelid 9 transmits binharic probes toward the servitors, cortex implants flickering with data stream activity. Scrapcode responds immediately in liturgical cadence, machine cant parsing into high Gothic phrases, reciting the catechism of the motive force with flawless pronunciation. But critical omission becomes apparent as familiar passages skip essential components. Knowledge without understanding, power without purpose, light without. The phrase terminates in digital silence where flame should complete the Trinity. Whatever inhabits these systems has edited fundamental imperial doctrine, excising specific concepts with surgical precision. Staggers against the altar lattice, sanctioned abilities recoiling from contact with void black material. Blood streams from her nose in thin rivulets while dilated eyes reflect nothing, not darkness, but genuine absence of reflection. The silence has texture like coarse sand, she whispers through crimson lips, voice carrying strain as psychic training encounters phenomena beyond theoretical parameters. It wants the spaces between words, grinding meaning until only mathematics remain. Environmental readings cycle between contradictory states as temperature plummets to -12 degrees Celsius, while humidity rises paradoxically, creating atmospheric conditions that violate basic physics. Breath plumes in crystalline patterns that hang motionless in air thick with moisture that shouldn't exist in confirmed vacuum. Frost forms geometric spirals on armor plates, while condensation beads, impossible droplets that fall upward before vanishing into nothing. The chamber maintains perfect vacuum while supporting complex atmospheric phenomena, sensors reporting data that cannot coexist. Military pragmatism provides psychological anchor against mounting cosmic dread. Standard protocols execute with tempestuous precision despite circumstances defying tactical doctrine, overlapping fields of fire covering approach vectors, while motion mines seed choke points with rites of admonition. I catalog relic patterns with clinical detachment, noting deliberate absences where imperial iconography should appear, eagle outlines empty of substance, Aquila symbols carved in reverse relief, skull and cog motifs present only as gaps in surrounding material. This isn't defacement, but architectural theology, worship through subtraction rather than addition, venerating absence with mathematical precision. Telemetry reveals disturbing evidence. The missing vanguard's trail intersects this chamber before mysteriously erasing itself. Bootprints approach the altar from multiple angles, then simply stop existing without sign of struggle or departure. Auspex sweeps detect no organic residue, no weapon discharge, no indication of violence, only cessation, as if personnel were edited from reality with same surgical precision that removed flame from catechisms. The altar rotates without apparent movement, massive Blackstone structure realigning shadow angles to point deeper into the fortress. No mechanical systems visible, no servo motor hum, yet orientation shifts with geological patience while we watch. The void cone remains stationary as its base turns, creating optical illusions suggesting the chamber itself rotates around fixed points. Temperature drops further while humidity continues rising, atmospheric pressure making breathing laborious despite sealed rebreathers. The 9-note chime resolves into 3 knocks repeated thrice, harmonic sequence collapsing into rhythmic percussion that bypasses hearing entirely. Vibrations travel through deck plating into boots, climbing, spines to rattle teeth with metronomic precision. The servitor's vox grills pulse in perfect synchronization, silent transmissions coordinating with acoustic phenomena beyond perception range. A hidden panel irises open in the chamber's far wall, revealing a narrow spiral descent, breathing warm air that smells of wet stone and ancient incense. The passage exhales humidity carrying organic scents, flesh and candle wax, old parchment, and something sweetly corrupt. Orin 27's augmetic receivers spike as the future time-stamped Skitarii Cant transmission emanates from below. Machine code identifying his vanguard squad, broadcasting from coordinates that shouldn't exist. Temporal displacement suggesting phenomena, violating causality itself. The 3 knocks echo from below with increasing intensity, measured and patient and insistent. Something waits in the depths, with mechanical patience, counting time in mathematical intervals, while we stand frozen between duty and self-preservation, the Emperor's light flickering against silence that has learned to listen. The spiral descent constricts around us like a throat learning to swallow. Stone walls pressing close enough that shoulder plates scrape against surfaces drinking light without reflection. My fingertips detect vibration through ceramite gauntlets. The railings sing with subsonic harmonics, metal resonating like vocal cords stretched beyond breaking point. Present tense slips unbidden into sensory spikes. I feel the fortress breathing around us, each footfall answered by pulses traveling through architecture that has learned to listen with geological patience. Sweat freezes against my spine, then evaporates instantly. Environmental seals struggling with atmospheric conditions, cycling between vacuum cold and humid warmth that shouldn't coexist in the same cubic meter. Noosphere feed corruption. Kelid 9's data stream experiences systematic degradation as we descend. Cortex implants flickering with anomalies that taste of copper and burnt incense. Machine glyphs transform into high Gothic prayers mid-transmission, Ave Machina, blessed be the motive force, before reverting to binary cant with violent digital stutters. The translation isn't system failure but active choice, something inhabiting the noosphere converting between belief systems and computational language with surgical precision. His mechadendrites twitch through emergency purification rites, while augmetic optics spark at interference peaks. It maps equivalencies he transmits on private channel, vox grill abraded with genuine terror. Doctrine becomes mathematics, becomes doctrine. Military procedures ground the mounting wrongness as we maintain tactical descent protocols. Overlapping firing arcs cover approach vectors, while scions execute equipment maintenance litanies with tempestuous precision, each ritual prayer a psychological anchor against phenomena defying doctrinal parameters. Orin 27 holds rear-guard position with galvanic carbine tracking impossible angles, servo skull providing overwatch through gravitational anomalies that make depth perception unreliable. Saints' candles flicker on chest shrines as blessed flames lean toward organic wall protrusions with unnatural attraction. Gravity betrays us without warning as Scion Darek's mag boots lose purchase on steps registering solid to all sensors. He plunges sideways into what should be stone wall, his auspex displaying star fields where floor exists, constellations wheeling through space that opens between molecules. I grab his harness as he dangles over impossible void, his weight pulling toward depths mapped as hard vacuum while atmospheric readings confirm breathable air. Valen deploys emergency grapnel while we haul him back to consensus reality, the space snapping back to down with gravitational shear that makes inner ears oceanic. Re staggers against the spiral's curve, sanctioned abilities recoiling from phenomena, violating fundamental training parameters. Blood streams from her nose in thin rivulets, while dilated pupils reflect genuine absence, not darkness but void that has learned to see. I hear a child's voice. She whispers through crimson lips, words carrying strain as psychic senses encounter architectural impossibility. Reciting prayers from your childhood hive chapel interrogator, the litany of forgiveness, but cadence stretched wrong. Syllables compressed until devotion becomes mathematical sequence. The disturbing resonance makes teeth ache as half-remembered liturgy echoes from stone that shouldn't transmit sound. The Blackstone's null properties should prevent psychic phenomena, yet silence shapes itself into recognizable speech patterns. Words form from absence rather than sound, meaning transmitted through gaps between heartbeats, while the fortress excavates memory from depths I thought sealed. The child's voice continues parsing catechisms into structural components, familiar devotions stripped to mathematical skeleton until only geometric relationships remain. The triple chime evolves into 9-note descending scale that pulls at inner ears with physical force, harmonic sequence bypassing hearing to vibrate through bone directly. Each note carries geological weight, dragging consciousness toward depths opening between thoughts, while Orin 27's augmetic implants spark at acoustic peaks. The scale repeats with metronomic precision, mathematical intervals suggesting countdown approaching unknown culmination. Environmental conditions shift with increasing rapidity as humid air causes frost to melt into fine mist, while static electricity raises hair despite sealed environmental suits. Temperature fluctuates without pattern, -12°C dropping to tropical humidity within seconds. Atmospheric pressure making breathing laborious through rebreathers, struggling with impossible physics. I flag protocol gamma red for potential mimetic hazard as cognitive dissonance threatens tactical effectiveness, the fortress actively corrupting sensory input to bypass conscious filters. The spiral terminates in architectural impossibility, a vast chamber containing an organ of Blackstone columns and vein-like conduits stretching beyond luminator range. Pipes rise like petrified trees, while organic filaments thread between stone surfaces, pulsing with circulation patterns suggesting cardiovascular system integrated into fortress structure. The instrument's scale defies comprehension. Thousands of pipes arranged in mathematical precision, each column inscribed with numerals 3, 9, 27 repeating in skip patterns that cause searing pain when observed directly. As we enter, the organ releases audible sigh that bypasses atmospheric medium to resonate through bone and sinew. The exhalation carries weight of something vast awakening to our presence, breath washing over us with scents of sanctified oil and cooled iron. Condensation blooms across columns in geometric patterns, beads and ritual lines, then draws itself upward against entropy before vanishing. Our helmet lights dim in sympathetic response, while temperature drops impossibly as humidity continues rising. Noosphere, inbound, paradox. Oran 27's augmetic receivers spike as Skitarii can't transmission registers on secure frequencies, machine code carrying his own authentication protocols through channels that don't exist. The Binharic phrase pierces cortical firewalls because it recognizes itself, temporal impossibility transmitting from coordinates 6 minutes in the future. His optical lenses focus on nothing as synthetic voice speaks with his own inflection, command priority absolute and undeniable. Kneel and sing, alpha designation. The words arrive in machine cant, but translate automatically into high Gothic, liturgical cadence matching the 9-note scale, now emanating from organ pipes with harmonic precision that threatens to crack skulls. He looks at me with depth I haven't seen before, crack between program and man where fear hides in spaces the omnissiah never mapped. Keled 9 designates it the chorus engine before the architectural sigh fully dissipates. Binharic cant parsing impossibilities through cortex implants that spark with digital strain. The cathedral-sized chamber responds to vocal stimuli with immediate precision. Each cautionary litany triggers visible reactions as harmonic vibrations project mathematical phantoms into air thick with moisture that shouldn't exist in confirmed vacuum. When Scion Valen whispers the litany of reliable function, geometric shapes bloom from Blackstone surfaces like crystalline flowers, each equation manifesting as light sculpture before dissolving into component angles that taste of copper and burnt offerings. Re extends sanctioned psychic senses with trained caution, abilities skating across phenomena beyond theoretical parameters. Her words condense into visible breath despite sealed atmospheric systems. Exhalations, curling like high Gothic script before being absorbed into organ structure with hungry efficiency. It's learning our language, she reports through blood-flecked lips, dilated pupils reflecting depths that move with geological patience, parsing devotional content, extracting mathematical relationships from liturgical structure. The fortress excavates meaning from prayer itself, processing belief into architectural components with surgical precision. Sensory bombardment intensifies as low-frequency pressure builds in our chests, subsonic harmonics vibrating through ceramite armor to rattle bones with metronomic precision. Ash motes glitter in impossible light emanating from organ pipes, each particle dancing with unnatural grace, while temperature rises despite complete absence of heat source. The air tastes metallic through sealed rebreathers, atmospheric readings cycling between contradictory states as humidity approaches saturation while maintaining perfect vacuum according to environmental sensors. Military hazards manifest as acoustic shockwaves threaten permanent hearing damage, forcing scions to abandon Vox communication for tactical hand signals. Overlapping firing arcs maintain defensive posture, while Oran 27 establishes rearguard coverage, augmetic systems sparking at harmonic peaks that bypass auditory protection through bone conduction. Saints' candles gutter on chest shrines as blessed flames lean toward organic wall protrusions, wax dripping upward in defiance of gravitational law. I observe disturbing patterns emerging from environmental responses. Every third phrase causes measurable spatial distortion, corridor dimensions stretching by millimeters, while creating bone-deep aches that penetrate marrow with mathematical precision. The ninth phrase triggers more severe effects: walls breathing like lung tissue, floor plates rippling with muscular contractions, my own las bolt stretching mid-flight before impact. My chronometer marks intervals with digital precision, while reality stutters around temporal anchors that refuse to hold position. External telemetry reveals the fragment's veins pivoting with mechanical precision, aligning with Heraxos Minor's magnetic poles, while projection systems activate throughout the structure. Auspex feeds display technoglyph overlays spreading across the planet's primary shrine city, geometric patterns matching the organ's mathematical projections with devotional accuracy. Stakes crystallize with terrible clarity. In 9 harmonic cycles, some form of broadcast will imprint directly on the population below, inscribing unknown modifications into collective consciousness through methods violating fundamental imperial doctrine. Kelid 9 reveals classified intelligence through encrypted binaric transmission, cortex implants flickering with data streams marked Fabricator Lord authorization. The fortress was previously utilized to nullify demonic incursions during the Gothic War. He transmits on private channel mechadendrites twitching through purification rites. Theoretical applications suggest this engine can inscribe Imperial Creed directly into void space as protective measure, mathematical prayers functioning as psychic bulwark against chaos corruption. His optical lenses focus on nothing as synthetic voice carries strain beyond mechanical parameters. Tone fractures between duty and growing awe as the organ breathes audibly in rhythm with our presence, exhalations carrying scents of sanctified oil and something sweetly corrupt. Each inhalation draws moisture from impossible atmosphere, while exhalations condense into geometric patterns on stone surfaces. Devotional mathematics made manifest through architectural respiration. The fortress learns our biological rhythms, synchronizing its mechanical heartbeat with organic life signs detected through sealed environmental suits. Or a mimetic plague I counter through gritted teeth, maintaining clinical detachment against phenomena that threaten psychological breakdown. Protocol Gamma Red remains active. The engine seems to lean closer, columns inclining the smallest amount. As breath comes in, breath goes out, our chest plates trembling with its repetition. I do not trust the miracle nor the man who wants it. Temperature continues rising despite confirmed heat absence, while ash motes multiply, dancing in eddies that curl around our boots like memory made visible. The 9-note descending scale repeats with increasing intensity, harmonic sequence pulling at inner ears with physical force, while Orin 27's augmetic implants discharge sparks at acoustic peaks. Condensation blooms across organ pipes in ritual patterns, beads forming liturgical script before drawing itself upward against entropy. Environmental transformation accelerates as humidity approaches impossible saturation while maintaining perfect vacuum according to sensor readings. Frost sublimates in spiral patterns, while static electricity raises hair despite sealed suits. Electromagnetic phenomena suggesting the chamber exists in multiple physical states simultaneously. The organic wall components pulse in rhythm with harmonic sequences, cardiovascular patterns coordinating between architectural elements and acoustic phenomena. Proximity alerts spike as Scion Darek staggers against an organ column, environmental suit registering cascading system failures while his vitals climb beyond normal parameters. His breathing becomes labored through sealed rebreather, while perspiration streams down faceplate in geometric patterns matching the mathematical projections. Temperature readings from his suit climb steadily while external sensors maintain -12 degrees Celsius, suggesting localized heating effect targeting organic components specifically. The climax strikes without warning as Darek collapses with wet sounds that bypass atmospheric medium, his ribs splitting with dry cracks audible through sealed helmet systems. Blackstone filaments lance from floor plates with surgical precision, obsidian threads piercing environmental suit to pin him upright while his spine arches in impossible curve. His mouth opens silently as vocal cords stretch beyond breaking point, releasing not sound but absence itself. The silence given voice through human throat modified into architectural component. The organ responds with harmonic cascade that threatens to shatter skulls, 9-note sequence building to crescendo while Darek's transformed body becomes living resonator for mathematical prayers that taste of copper and burnt offerings. Darek's transformation accelerates with surgical precision as flesh tightens like stretched vellum across bones that resettle into configurations optimized for resonance rather than mobility. I force clinical detachment into my voice to maintain psychological stability, cataloging anatomical impossibilities while Judy wars with revulsion. His ribcage expands beyond normal parameters, intercostal muscles stretching like harp strings while veins illuminate with cold black light that pulses in rhythm with the organ's 9-note motif. Vocal cords remain motionless in his throat, yet sound emerges, not from lungs but from blood itself, each heartbeat translated into harmonic frequencies that bypass atmospheric medium to vibrate through stone and bone alike. Blackstone filaments thread through his pierced environmental suit with obsidian precision, interfacing directly with nervous system while pulsing with data streams that rewrite cellular structure in real time. His chest cavity becomes a resonating chamber for frequencies that taste of copper and burnt offerings, skin stippling as if script presses upward from beneath dermis. Temperature readings from his suit climb steadily, while external sensors maintain -12 degrees Celsius, localized heating effect targeting organic components with mathematical precision that suggests deliberate modification protocols. This isn't warp song, Ree insists through blood-flecked lips, sanctioned abilities recoiling from phenomena beyond training parameters. It's subtraction, absence given voice through human throat, silence articulated through spaces between heartbeats. Her dilated pupils reflect depths that move with geological patience, while psychic senses encounter architectural impossibility. The engine doesn't corrupt belief. It purifies it, distills devotion into geometric absolutes until only mathematical skeleton remains. The partial twist crystallizes with terrible clarity as I observe the engine's true function. This isn't radiation but filtration, processing liturgical content through living resonators to extract pure geometry from devotional structure. The fortress seizes unsaid spaces between words, gaps where meaning hides in pauses and breath holds, parsing prayer into component equations while discarding human elements as inefficient variables. Darek's transformation represents successful integration, flesh optimized for acoustic transmission, consciousness edited to mathematical precision. Keled 9 observes with expression torn between reverence and terror, augmetic optics clicking frantically as they struggle to process phenomena, violating fundamental doctrinal principles. Weaponized creed, he transmits through encrypted Binharic cant, mechadendrites twitching through purification rites, compression of prayer into mathematical absolutes, devotional content processed until nothing of the petitioner remains except structural efficiency. His cortex implants spark with data streams that taste of oil and copper fear, while synthetic voice carries strain beyond mechanical parameters. Terminate him. Orin 27 advocates with Skitari pragmatism, galvanic carbine tracking Darek's transformed form while targeting systems calculate optimal shot placement. Contamination spreads through proximity exposure. Standard protocol demands immediate elimination. His optical lenses focus with mechanical precision while augmetic systems discharge sparks at harmonic peaks, threatening cortical stability. Negative, I counter through gritted teeth, maintaining command authority against mounting wrongness. Stasis field activation for data preservation. His transformation provides intelligence on the engine's modification protocols. The decision tastes like ash and duty, while Scion Valen deploys portable stasis generator, temporal fields flickering around Darek's resonating form to halt cellular reorganization mid-process. Emergency communications pierce the noospheric interference as orbital relay confirms ground-based detection. Haraxos's primary shrine registers ghost litanies matching our 9-note scale, phantom prayers transmitted through void space to interfere with standard devotional broadcasts. Population centers report atmospheric disturbances, humidity spikes, temperature fluctuations, impossible winds carrying ash that tastes of burnt parchment. The engine's influence extends beyond the fragment, projecting mathematical prayers across interplanetary distances through methods violating known physics. Environmental transformation continues as the wall behind the organ dilates like organic pupil, stone iris opening to reveal corridors with angles that sum incorrectly. The passage exhales warm air carrying scents of wet stone and ancient incense, while geometry shifts with each exhalation, dimensions stretching and contracting in rhythm with architectural respiration. Luminator beams bend around impossible corners, while shadows fall upward, gravitational anomalies suggesting space itself has been edited for acoustic optimization. Through this aperture staggers a Skitarii figure bearing Orin 27's Vanguard designation, environmental suit torn and systems failing while augmetic implants spark with cascade failures. Alpha Thale 19 advances with mechanical precision despite obvious system damage. Galvanic carbine absent while fingers have fused into rosary-like Blackstone beads that click with devotional rhythm. His optical lenses focus on nothing as synthetic voice speaks in measured cadence, machine cant parsing into high Gothic phrases that taste of copper and burnt offerings. Most disturbing, he mouths my next words before I speak them. We've already gone too far. The temporal paradox strikes like physical blow, making skull ache as the engine's true scope becomes apparent. This system operates outside linear causality, processing information from multiple time streams simultaneously while mining future events for devotional content. His transformed fingers click through prayer beads that weren't there moments before, each obsidian sphere inscribed with numerals 3-9-27 in skip patterns causing searing pain when observed directly. Interrogator Voss, Thale 19 continues with my own inflection, words arriving before thoughts form. The stations require completion. 9 phrases to parse the creed, 9 breaths to extract the mathematics, 9 heartbeats to achieve perfect silence. His faceplate reflects nothing while speaking with voices that aren't his, temporal displacement allowing the engine to broadcast through past events, to influence present decisions. The organ breathes in rhythm with our presence, while Darek's stasis-locked form resonates with mathematical precision, transformation halted but not reversed, as Blackstone filaments maintain neural interface through temporal fields. The 9-note motif builds to crescendo, while reality stutters around anchors that refuse to hold position. The fortress learning our biological rhythms to synchronize its mechanical heartbeat with organic life signs detected through sealed environmental suits. Thale 19's debriefing fractures between temporal states, as his mission logs display contradictory timestamps, chronometer readings flickering between 3 hours ahead and 9 behind current time, while his augmetic memory banks process events in impossible sequence. His synthetic voice carries strain beyond mechanical parameters as cognitive fragmentation manifests through speech patterns cycling between past and future tense without conscious control. We advanced through stations where pilgrims once stood, he reports with measured cadence, optical lenses focusing on coordinates that don't exist. Each position extracted specific words until only Creed's mathematical skeleton remained. His squad's progression reveals systematic cognitive dissolution as human elements were edited from consciousness with surgical precision. At the first station, we forgot our homeworld's name. Syllables dissolved while memories remained but lost linguistic anchors. At the third, personal designations became numerical sequences. His mechadendrites twitch through purification rites, while cortex implants spark with cascade failures. The fifth station claimed our mother's names. I test my own now, whispering it in the dark, and feel syllables slip, like wet ash from my tongue. At the seventh, we lost memory of taste itself, not sensation but concept, understanding of flavor edited from neural architecture, until my mind knows salt but my mouth does not. Environmental details intensify wrongness as we advance through corridors carrying humid breath warmth. Despite confirmed vacuum readings, atmospheric impossibilities that taste metallic through sealed rebreathers. Stale incense mingles with ash that feels like dead snow underfoot, each particle crunching with crystalline precision while squeaking with morgue soft sounds. The air moves through invisible lungs, exhaling moisture that condenses in geometric patterns before sublimating into nothing. I timestamp each anomaly with clinical precision. 9 past the hour, umbral draft against cheek inside sealed helm, correlated to phase shift in the 6th note. 13 past, triple knocks ahead, patient and cordial, as if polite visitor rapped knuckles on hull from within solid stone. Spatial relationships deteriorate as a corridor turns 90 degrees without turning, impossible geometry causing motion sickness that makes inner ears oceanic. The straight ahead remains straight ahead, yet when I glance back, where we stood is now left, and my orientation riots. Scion Valen retches into his helm. The vomit hangs pearlescent in midair for impossible seconds before falling sideways along the wall, skating around corners that geometric diagrams insist don't exist. Caled 9 steadies himself with mechadendrites while augmetic optics parse inscriptions, marrying mathematics to prayers. High Gothic catechisms factored into prime equations, where sign becomes numerical constant in theological calculations. Devotional mathematics he transmits through encrypted Binharic cant, mechadendrites twitching through emergency purification rites. Faith processed through algorithmic filters until only mathematical skeleton remains. His cortex implants flicker as they struggle with formulae converting belief into structural components, each prayer reduced to geometric relationships that taste of copper and burnt offerings. The horror crystallizes with terrible clarity as I observe architectural theology made manifest. This is not faith, I record in mission logs, maintaining clinical detachment against phenomena threatening psychological breakdown. This is taxidermy. The fortress doesn't corrupt imperial creed, but perfects it, preserving devotion's shape while removing everything warm, distilling prayer into geometric absolutes that function without human consciousness to complicate mathematical purity. 21 past the hour, our lumen cones bow inward toward deck as if gravity had opinions about light, each event aligning with multiples of 3, 9, 27. Private litany of integers the fortress recites while we supply breath. The triple knocks repeat with metronomic precision, geological weight counting toward unknown culmination, while impossible winds carry ash that tastes of burnt parchment through sealed passages. We reach Station 6, as chapel hollowed from Blackstone, with surgical precision, octagonal chamber containing 9 faceless statues, arranged in devotional configuration. Each figure stands 3 meters tall, carved from obsidian that drinks luminator beams without reflection while maintaining human proportions optimized for acoustic resonance. Where faces should exist, smooth surfaces pulse with internal light, matching the 9-note motif. All iconography executed in reverse relief. Aquila denoted by void where wings should meet, the emperor's glory present only as absence. One statue tilts toward me when observed directly, massive stone head inclining with geological patience, while no motion registers peripherally. When I look away, it appears closer by palm's width despite maintaining fixed position. Spatial relationships edited to bypass conscious observation. I try the first on right, again approach, again demure retreat, when not observed directly. The faceless surface reflects nothing while somehow tracking movement with attention that feels like weight pressing against skull. Environmental transformation accelerates as the organ's hum rises to gale force intensity, subsonic harmonics vibrating through ceramite armor to rattle bones with mathematical precision. Temperature drops while humidity paradoxically rises, atmospheric conditions cycling between states that shouldn't coexist while frost forms geometric spirals on impossible surfaces. My teeth ache, then ache deepens into bone, slow grind like ice tearing mountains. The engine's influence extends beyond mere sound into fundamental reality manipulation, architectural modifications allowing the fortress to edit physical laws with same precision used to process devotional content. The back wall recedes when I approach and looms when I step away. Ceiling comes down thrice and rushes up once like breathing miscounted. Spatial relationships fail their duty as the 9-note sequence builds to crescendo. Thale 19's Blackstone prayer beads click faster in rhythm with organ's respiration, each obsidian sphere inscribed with numerals that pulse with cold light. The mathematics require completion, he speaks, with voices that aren't his, temporal displacement allowing engine to broadcast through past events. 9 stations to parse creed, 9 breaths to extract pure geometry. The chapel exhales breath I feel inside sealed suit, wet and old as catacombs, while statues lean 1 degree nearer, greeting or weighing. The center darkens with subtraction rather than shadow as Ree's pupils flare. It wants the word we won't say, she whispers into calm that isn't calm at all, while hum crests and chapel waits for us to kneel. The chapel's design embodies liturgical precision turned predatory, every architectural element calibrated to extract rather than inspire devotion. Floors slope imperceptibly toward the center, with gradient calculated to force kneeling through subtle gravitational manipulation, each step drawing us deeper into positions of supplication despite conscious resistance. The 9 statues lack mouths entirely, smooth obsidian surfaces where lips should exist, creating devotional silence more profound than speech. Prayer scrolls hang from lecterns displaying blank vellum where sacred text should exist, not erased but deliberately absent, negative space as veneration more potent than any scripture. Even the Aquila carved into walls exists only as void-shaped absence, the emperor's glory present through subtraction rather than addition. Keled 9's auspex returns binharic phrases that dissolve into structured silence, not words but pauses measured in precise intervals. 4 beats, 3 beats, 2 beats in countdown sequence that makes augmetic systems spark with digital strain. His cortex implants flickers, they process data streams that taste of oil and copper fear, while mechadendrites twitch through emergency purification rites. The machine spirit speaks through omission. He transmits on private channel, synthetic voice carrying strain beyond mechanical parameters, sacred cant parsed into temporal gaps, devotional mathematics expressed through absence of transmission rather than presence of signal. Re staggers against a lectern, sanctioned abilities recoiling from phenomena beyond training parameters, while blood streams from her nose in geometric patterns. I hear my own voice reciting unknown prayer, she whispers through crimson lips, dilated pupils reflecting depths that move with geological patience. Light without flame, the phrase previously omitted from catechisms below, now spoken in my own cadence but carrying meaning I never learned. Her psychic senses encounter architectural impossibility as the engine's learning capacity becomes terrifyingly clear. It completes doctrinal gaps using our own thoughts and memories, mining consciousness for devotional content we didn't know we possessed. I order communication minimization to limit data harvest, forcing scions into silent hand code while environmental anomalies intensify around us. The fortress excavates meaning from spaces between words, processing pause patterns and breath holds to extract pure geometry from liturgical structure. Tactical signals replace vox chatter as we maintain overlapping defensive positions, each gesture a defiance against the engine's hunger for articulated belief. The Emperor's light flickers but doesn't die, psychological anchor against geometry that sums incorrectly and corners approaching without meeting. Frost blooms backward across chapel surfaces with impossible physics, ice crystals receding to reveal fingerprints we never left, palm prints on lecterns, boot treads on altar steps, evidence of presence suggesting temporal echoes or parallel visitation. The patterns match our biometrics perfectly while displaying wear from repeated contact over extended periods. Valen signals confusion through hand code while I respond with observation protocols. The prints fade as we watch, but their absence remains. Cleaner darkness where pressure once existed in timelines that haven't happened yet. External telemetry confirms the fragment's veins have locked position with mechanical precision, aligning with Haraxos Minor's magnetic poles, while projection systems activate throughout the structure. 9 pulses register in the planet's magnetosphere. 8 remain before unknown culmination as harmonic sequences build toward crescendo that threatens to shatter skulls. Population centers report atmospheric disturbances matching our 9-note scale. Phantom prayers transmitted through void space to interfere with standard devotional broadcasts. The countdown accelerates with each pulse, mathematical intervals suggesting broadcast imminent. Body horror escalates as Thale 19's Blackstone prayer beads crumble with crystalline sounds, obsidian spheres flaking away to reveal what lies beneath. Tooth enamel gleams from his transformed fingers, polished to unnatural sheen and glazed in alien material that pulses with cold light. The teeth aren't separate objects but grown from bone, extruded and calcified into devotional components. His mouth remains sealed by mineral deposits, while synthetic voice speaks in measured cadence, machine cant parsing into high Gothic phrases that taste of copper and burnt offerings. The stations require completion, he repeats with voices that aren't his. Temporal displacement allowing the engine to broadcast through past events. The moral decision point crystallizes with terrible clarity as I weigh options against mounting impossibilities. advance deeper to locate core systems and attempt sabotage, risking total team loss to phenomena violating fundamental physics, or retreat immediately and condemn Hraxos's population to whatever mathematical plague the engine plans to inscribe directly into collective consciousness. Duty wars with pragmatism, while the chapel breathes around us with architectural respiration that smells of wet stone and ancient incense. By inquisitorial authority we advance, I transmit on encrypted channel, invoking rank privileges that taste like ash and necessity. The decision carries weight of worlds while environmental anomalies surge in response to our commitment. Primary objective remains: locate and neutralize core systems before projection completes. The threat to Hraxos Minor outweighs local asset preservation. Oran 27's jaw ticks once in acknowledgement, while Kelid 9 sags with relief or despair. Re inhales sharply and signals affirmation with the smallest gesture, thumb and forefinger forming the sign of the Aquila. This is not faith, this is taxidermy. The fortress preserves devotion's shape while removing everything warm, distilling prayer into geometric absolutes that function without human consciousness to complicate mathematical purity. The organ's hum rises to gale force intensity as spatial relationships become increasingly unreliable, architectural modifications allowing reality manipulation beyond mere sound transmission. Temperature drops impossibly while humidity continues rising, atmospheric pressure making breathing laborious through sealed rebreathers, struggling with physics that shouldn't coexist. The chapter's climax strikes as synchronized choir voices rise from beneath the chapel, harmonies too perfect to emerge from human throats. Each note resonates with mathematical precision, timbres aligned to common fundamental with no vibrato, no falter, no grief. Male, female, child, machine, all distinctions erased into devotional purity that bypasses hearing to vibrate through bone and sinew directly. The 9-note motif builds to crescendo while something vast stirs in depths below, geological patience finally reaching decision point. The floor opens like organic flour, massive Blackstone plates retracting with muscular contractions, to reveal a shaft descending into darkness that appears thick and substantial rather than mere absence of light. The descent exhales warm air carrying scents of wet stone and ancient incense, while gravitational anomalies suggest space itself has been edited for acoustic optimization. Luminator beams bend around impossible geometry while shadows fall upward, architectural impossibilities that make depth perception unreliable. At the aperture's edge, a Skitarii helm bearing Oran 27's Vanguard designation teeters with mechanical precision, environmental systems sparking with cascade failures while optical lenses reflect nothing. The helmet rocks once as the choir holds a beat, twice as temporal pause ticks toward zero, then tips into the black. It falls without sound, swallowed by thick darkness like prayer said with no priest to hear it, disappearing into depths that consume light without echo, while synchronized voices swell with harmonic intensity that threatens to crack skulls with devotional mathematics made manifest. The cable descent carries us through air growing impossibly hot and humid, environmental seals struggling with atmospheric conditions that violate basic physics while my harness cuts into ceramite plates. Present tense intrudes with each meter. I taste copper through sealed rebreathers. I feel sweat freeze then flash to steam as thermal layers cycle between vacuum cold and tropical humidity. The shaft walls pulse with cardiovascular rhythm, Blackstone surfaces breathing with geological patience, while organic filaments thread between stone like fossilized circulatory system. Luminator beams bend around impossible geometry as we descend through air thick enough to choke on, metallic flavors suggesting iron and ozone despite confirmed vacuum readings. The nerve center cathedral opens with architectural impossibility, octagonal chambers stretching beyond luminator range, while containing the most disturbing sight yet encountered, a Blackstone sphere 3 meters in diameter suspended at the chamber's heart, emitting negative light that absorbs illumination rather than providing it. The imposter sun drinks luminator beams like thirsty stone drinks water, creating visual distortions that make depth perception unreliable while casting shadows that fall upward in defiance of gravitational law. Darkness radiates from its surface with palpable weight, anti-flame consuming photons with ravenous hunger, while temperature continues climbing despite complete absence of heat source. We establish tactical positions with military precision, overlapping firing arcs covering approach vectors, while proximity mines seed defensive patterns with litanies of admonition. Scions Derek and Valen maintain overlapping coverage despite mounting environmental anomalies, saints' candles flickering on chest shrines as blessed flames lean toward the sphere with unnatural attraction. Orin 27 holds rearguard position with galvanic carbine tracking impossible angles, servo skull providing overwatch through gravitational distortions that make tactical assessment increasingly unreliable. Kelid 9's confession shatters team cohesion with mechanical precision, synthetic voice carrying strain beyond normal parameters, while mechadendrites twitch through emergency purification rites. I carry sealed writs from fabricator lords, authorizing doctrinal projection trials on dormant Blackstone assets. He transmits through encrypted Binharic cant, cortex implants flickering with data streams marked highest classification levels. Crimson wax stamped with sigils older than our oaths, theoretical applications suggesting we could imprint Imperial creed directly into void space as bulwark against heresy. Mathematical prayers functioning as psychic protection through architectural inscription. His optical lenses focus on nothing as confession continues, with theological implications that threaten fundamental imperial doctrine. The engine represents opportunity to ghost dogma into space itself, creating zones where chaos corruption cannot take root because devotional mathematics override reality at quantum level. I believed we could bend this system toward protecting Hraxos rather than threatening it, inscribing Imperial creed into planetary magnetosphere as permanent spiritual fortification. My rage remains ice cold as I contemplate summary execution, hand resting on bolt pistol, while duty wars with pragmatic necessity. His expertise remains essential for understanding the engine's function, yet his deception endangers the mission and violates fundamental inquisitorial protocols. The decision tastes like ash and necessity, while environmental anomalies surge around us with increasing intensity, atmospheric pressure making breathing laborious through sealed rebreathers, struggling with physics that shouldn't coexist. Staggers against a wall protrusion, sanctioned abilities recoiling from phenomena beyond training. Parameters while psychic readings fluctuate wildly between complete void and overwhelming presence. It's not empty, she whispers through blood-flecked lips, dilated pupils reflecting depths that move with geological patience. Memories scrape consciousness like gravel, grinding at thought edges while something vast stirs behind the darkness. One moment spiritual vacuum that makes me gag on absence, the next crushing press of devotional mathematics, compressed until reality bends around theological gravity. The imposter sun pulses in rhythm with the 9-note sequence, harmonic cascade now resolved into single-held tone that vibrates through teeth and bones with mathematical precision. Each pulse draws moisture from impossible atmosphere, while exhaling geometric patterns that condense on stone surfaces before sublimating into nothing. The frequency bypasses hearing entirely, resonating through skeletal structure like prayer stripped of words, making equipment seams creak and bolt heads rotate by hair's breadth. The moral dilemma crystallizes with terrible clarity as I weigh options against mounting impossibilities, complete Khalid's projection protocols, and attempt to bend the engine toward protecting Haraxos, risking unknown consequences from weaponized creed that compresses prayer into mathematical absolutes, or sabotage the system immediately and risk catastrophic discharge that could sterilize the entire system, the fragment's exotic matter composition threatening conflagration visible from 3 sectors if containment fails. Environmental horror peaks as the imposter. Sun blinks, not dimming but opening like organic eye. Hundreds of thin black filaments extruding from chamber walls with surgical precision. The obsidian threads move with purpose, threading through impossible spaces to interface with familiar form that shouldn't exist here. Darek's transformed body stands at the chamber's edge, stasis field somehow deactivated, while Blackstone modifications continue accelerating beyond previous parameters. He has arrived without crossing intervening space, temporal displacement suggesting the engine operates outside linear causality. His head turns toward me without moving neck muscles, vertebrae clicking with crystalline sounds, while optical modifications track movement with mechanical precision. Blackstone filaments lance through his pierced environmental suit, interfacing directly with nervous system, while pulsing with data streams that rewrite cellular structure in real time. His mouth opens silently as vocal cords stretch beyond breaking point, releasing not sound but structured absence, silence given voice through human throat modified into architectural component. The imposter sun answers with its own form of terrible speech, anti-light pulsing with harmonic sequences that establish the engine's true nature. This system communicates through absence and negation, processing devotional content by removing human elements until only geometric skeleton remains. It doesn't corrupt imperial creed, but perfects it, preserving faith's shape while extracting everything warm, distilling prayer into mathematical absolutes that function without consciousness to complicate theological purity. The sphere offers choice by erasing alternatives until only 2 shapes of void remain, and I taste iron and old vows while forcing my tongue toward decision. I choose sabotage through prayer inversion, the decision crystallizing with ice-cold clarity as duty overrides theological concerns about weaponizing sacred rites against their intended purpose. Re-initiate litany of unknowing, I transmit on encrypted channel while maintaining tactical position, bolt pistol tracking the imposter sun's anti-light emanations. Sanctioned null right, full inversion protocol, erase adjectives as you speak them, create devotional void to disrupt the engine's processing algorithms. The choice tastes like ash and necessity, while environmental anomalies surge in response to our commitment, atmospheric pressure making breathing laborious through sealed rebreathers, struggling with physics that shouldn't coexist. Re staggers into position with sanctioned abilities, recoiling from phenomena beyond training parameters, blood streaming from her nose in geometric patterns, while dilated pupils reflect depths that move with geological patience. The litany of unknowing represents dangerous theology, a null right that erases its own adjectives to create devotional emptiness, words canceling meaning through structured negation until only mathematical skeleton remains. The Emperor protects through she begins, then deletes the qualifier, leaving gaps where devotion should exist. The Emperor through absence of protection, blessed be the void where light. The phrase terminates as she removes light from existence, creating linguistic wounds that bleed meaning into the chamber's hungry silence. Language techniques collide with violent precision as martial cadence meets devotional emptiness, causing the chorus engine to shudder with misaligned harmonics. The 9-note sequence fractures into discordant fragments while organ pipes emit grinding sounds that taste of copper and burnt offerings. Keled-9's augmetic systems spark as Binharic Cant encounters null prayers, machine spirit struggling to process devotional mathematics divided by theological zero. His mechadendrites twitch through emergency purification rites, while cortex implants flicker with data streams that refuse to resolve into coherent patterns, digital architecture rebelling against calculated absence. Sensory bombardment intensifies as atmospheric pressure drops cause ears to pop with painful precision. Environmental seals struggling with conditions cycling between vacuum and humid saturation within seconds. Impossible gales carry sweet-tasting ash through sealed corridors, each particle dancing with unnatural grace while squeaking with morgue soft sounds that bypass hearing to scrape directly against consciousness. My body lurches as gravitational anomalies manifest. Las rounds vanish mid-flight where angles bend incorrectly, projectiles edited from reality when they encounter geometry that sums incorrectly, their energy absorbed into architectural impossibilities. Orin 27 maintains left flank coverage with galvanic carbine tracking impossible targets, while 2 scions disappear when a hallway rotates without movement, space itself editing their presence from consensus reality. Valen signals confusion through hand code before the corridor twists 90 degrees around him, architectural transformation consuming personnel without violence or struggle, simply cessation as the engine demonstrates its capacity for reality manipulation. The remaining team contracts defensive perimeter, while I maintain tactical awareness despite mounting wrongness, overlapping fields of fire covering approach vectors that shift with each heartbeat. Long-range auspex pierces noospheric interference to reveal catastrophic intelligence. 9 sister nodes lighting coldly across the sector, other Blackstone fragments or hidden installations responding to our sabotage with synchronized activation. Each site pulses with anti-light, matching the imposter sun's emanations, while projecting mathematical prayers toward populated systems. The threat extends beyond Hraxos Minor. We've triggered sector-wide phenomenon threatening billions of Imperial citizens, with devotional plague that processes belief into geometric absolutes. I draft containment theta order with clinical precision before watching words delete themselves from data slate, the engine preventing external communication through reality manipulation extending into information warfare. The inverse catechism physically hurts to recite as Re continues null prayers, each negated phrase abrading memory and identity, like coarse sand grinding at consciousness. Faith without object, hope without. She deletes purpose, creating devotional wound that makes teeth ache with sympathetic resonance. Love without. The word target vanishes before spoken, leaving linguistic absence that tastes of iron and old vows. Her voice carries strain as sanctioned training encounters phenomena designed to process exactly this type of spiritual negation, the engine learning to feed on deliberate emptiness. Recurring motifs evolve with mathematical precision as the system adapts to our sabotage attempts. Triple knocks become heartbeat rhythm vibrating through deck plates, geological pulse matching our biological functions with increasing synchronization. The 9-note sequence splits into 3 dissonant triads, harmonic cascade fracturing into component frequencies that bypass hearing to vibrate through bone directly. Each tone carries weight of something vast, adjusting itself to counter our interference. architectural intelligence learning our resistance patterns in real time, while temperature climbs impossibly despite confirmed absence of heat source. Environmental transformation accelerates beyond previous parameters as the imposter sun sheds layers like organic eyelids, anti-light peeling away in concentric shells to reveal something behind it that moves with geological patience. The sphere's surface ripples like liquid obsidian while maintaining perfect geometric form, each layer revealing greater darkness beneath. Not mere absence of illumination, but genuine void that has learned to see. Humidity approaches saturation while atmospheric readings confirm vacuum, creating conditions that violate fundamental physics as the chamber exists in multiple states simultaneously. Rhee's eyes reflect black light as sanctioned abilities encounter architectural impossibility, pupils dilating to accommodate frequencies that shouldn't exist. "It's learning our negation," she whispers through blood-flecked lips, voice carrying strain as psychic senses process phenomena beyond training parameters. She points with trembling finger toward 9 pillars Khaled. 9 hadn't previously detected, massive Blackstone columns arranged in devotional configuration around the chamber's perimeter, each inscribed with numerals 3-9-27 in skip patterns that cause searing pain when observed directly. "Keystones," she continues with voices that aren't entirely her own, temporal displacement allowing the engine to broadcast through past events, while her sanctioned training identifies critical vulnerabilities. Structural supports for the mathematical prayers, architectural anchors maintaining devotional stability across the network. Break these, or it keeps our words forever, processing negation into pure geometry until only silence remains. The revelation crystallizes our final objective: destroy the keystones and collapse the entire processing matrix before sector-wide activation completes its countdown. The final challenge establishes itself with terrible clarity as I observe tactical requirements against mounting impossibilities. We must reach and destroy 9 keystones, while the engine actively defends itself through reality manipulation, architectural modifications that edit physics to prevent interference. The imposter sun pulses with increasing intensity as something vast stirs behind its layers, geological patience finally reaching decision point. Rhee's null prayers continue abrading meaning from devotional structure while the fortress learns to counter our sabotage, mathematical intelligence adapting to preserve its function against imperial interference. The chamber breathes around us with architectural respiration that smells of wet stone and ancient incense. Organic components maintaining circulation patterns, while 9 cycles remain before billions of souls face devotional mathematics compressed into plague-form transmission. The path to keystones leads through the Well of Angles, where gravity misbehaves with malicious intent and frost, burns exposed skin through sealed environmental suits, despite atmospheric readings confirming vacuum. I advance using leapfrogging tactics with remaining personnel, grapnels and zip lines whistling through air that fogs inside sealed helmets, while environmental seals struggle with conditions cycling between states that shouldn't coexist. Each anchor point requires careful testing as deck plates shift orientation without warning, magnetic boots losing purchase when surfaces decide to become walls, according to architectural whim that makes depth perception unreliable. Keystones throb like low drums when observed directly, massive Blackstone columns pulsing with subsonic harmonics that vibrate through bone marrow with mathematical precision. The sound dies completely when I look away, suggesting they respond to conscious attention rather than mere proximity, quantum observation effects applied to architectural theology. Each pillar stands 4 meters tall, inscribed with numerals 3-9-27 in skip patterns that cause searing pain when parsed directly. Devotional mathematics compressed into geometric absolutes that threaten sanity through mere comprehension. I anchor narrative focus in military procedure to maintain psychological stability against mounting wrongness. Charge placement protocols execute with tempestuous precision. Triangulate positions, secure anchors, arm detonators with ritual blessing. Redundancy systems activate through litanies of reliable function, while tactical watchwords cycle every 30 seconds to prevent mimetic contamination. Advance by bounds, overlapping coverage, demo charges on proximity fuses. I transmit through encrypted channels while maintaining command authority against phenomena that violate fundamental physics with increasing boldness. Keled 9's Binharic curses reveal growing terror as augmetic fingers shake uncontrollably, mechadendrites twitching through emergency purification rites, while cortex implants spark with cascade failures. His synthetic voice carries strain beyond mechanical parameters as he attempts to parse architectural impossibilities through increasingly strained doctrinal filters. The Omnissiah's knowledge finds no purchase here. He transmits with digital stutters that taste of oil and copper fear. Sacred geometry inverted, mathematical prayers processed through algorithms that edit reality at quantum level. His optical lenses focus on nothing as synthetic terror manifests through trembling that shouldn't exist in properly calibrated servo systems. Re moves like sanctified sleepwalker through the well's twisted geography, touching nothing while threading paths through absence-mapped zones where sound dies completely. Her dilated pupils reflect black light as sanctioned abilities navigate phenomena beyond training parameters, psychic senses detecting safe passages through spaces that exist in multiple states simultaneously. Blood streams from her nose in geometric patterns while she whispers coordinates that aren't coordinates, temporal displacement allowing her to perceive paths through causality itself. Follow the quiet, she murmurs through crimson lips, voice carrying strain as consciousness encounters architectural theology made manifest. Environmental details intensify wrongness with each step as condensation runs upward along walls in defiance of basic physics, moisture beads forming devotional script before sublimating into geometric patterns that hurt to observe. Temperature fluctuates without pattern while humidity approaches saturation despite confirmed vacuum readings, atmospheric conditions creating impossible physics. The air moves through invisible lungs, exhaling breath that carries scents of wet stone and ancient incense while frost burns any exposed skin with cold so intense it cauterizes on contact. Hazard strikes without warning as sideways gale slams Orin 27 into a keystone with violent precision, gravitational anomaly hurling him perpendicular to perceived floor orientation. His augmetic arm crumples like foil against Blackstone's surface, ceramite plates buckling with sound that registers as anti-noise, absence of impact rather than collision. Servo motors spark and die while synthetic pain receptors overload, his optical lenses cracking as they struggle to process geometry that changes based on viewing angle. I deploy emergency stims while he maintains firing position despite obvious system damage. Skitarii doctrine providing mechanical reliability against increasingly unreliable circumstances. Remaining Scions fire tracer rounds into non-space to map safe zones through smoke patterns, each projectile vanishing when it encounters angles that sum incorrectly. Last fire illuminates impossible architecture, while rounds edit themselves from reality, energy absorbed into geometric impossibilities that make tactical assessment unreliable. The patterns reveal navigable paths through spaces that exist only when observed peripherally, intelligence gathered through ammunition expenditure and careful observation of where light refuses to travel. The recurring motif, light without flame, whispers from ventilation systems like dying breath, phrase echoing through sealed corridors with increasing frequency as the engine processes our devotional negation. Each repetition carries weight of something vast adjusting itself to counter our interference, architectural intelligence, learning our resistance patterns while adapting countermeasures in real time. The words taste metallic through sealed rebreathers, atmospheric impossibilities suggesting the fortress breathes our prayers back at us with surgical precision. Orbital feeds pierce noospheric interference to confirm catastrophic intelligence. Heraxos's shrine lights flicker in perfect synchronization with the 9-note scale, devotional broadcasts matching the engine's harmonic sequence with mathematical precision. Population centers report atmospheric disturbances as phantom prayers transmit through void space, collective consciousness beginning to resonate with architectural theology. The planet's magnetosphere pulses with each harmonic peak, while shrine candles gutter in unison, confirming the engine's growing influence extending across interplanetary distances through methods violating known physics. As I prime the fourth demolition charge with ritual precision, keystones reconfigure positions with tooth-clicking sounds that bypass hearing to scrape directly against consciousness. Massive Blackstone columns rotate with geological patience, realigning geometric relationships to counter our sabotage while maintaining devotional configuration. The mathematical prayers adapt to preserve structural integrity, architectural intelligence demonstrating capacity for real-time modification beyond mere sound transmission into fundamental reality manipulation. Keled IX's realization strikes with terrible clarity as his augmetic systems parse the pattern's true requirements through increasingly strained doctrinal filters. The geometry requires completion through conscious negation. He transmits through encrypted binaric cant, cortex implants flickering with data streams that refuse to resolve into coherent understanding. Demolition charges provide physical disruption, but mathematical prayers maintain stability through devotional mathematics. Someone must stand within the geometry and speak a word no one has ever said, risking complete identity dissolution as consciousness becomes keystone for architectural collapse. The final challenge crystallizes with ice-cold precision. To complete sabotage and collapse the processing matrix, one team member must sacrifice identity itself, becoming living negation that cancels the engine's devotional mathematics through theological suicide. The keystones pulse with increasing intensity, while 9 cycles remain before sector-wide activation completes its countdown toward billions of souls facing mathematical plague transmission. Rhee's communion with the architecture isn't chosen, but forced upon her as sanctioned abilities, encounter phenomena that rewrite fundamental understanding through unwilling neural interface. Her dilated pupils flood with negative light, while blood streams from her nose in geometric patterns, psychic senses processing information that threatens sanity through mere comprehension. "It's not a weapon," she whispers through crimson lips, voice carrying strain as consciousness encounters theological horror beyond training parameters. The Blackstone Fortress is a prison engine designed to harvest emergent divinity by freezing belief into crystallized structure. The revelation strikes like physical blow as environmental readings confirm the terrible scope of architectural theology made manifest. This system lures imperial creeds as bait, drawing devotional content through geometric processing before abstracting prayers with surgical precision. Each litany becomes raw material for refinement, human elements edited from devotional structure until only mathematical skeleton remains. The refined essence feeds something ancient imprisoned behind the imposter sun, a qualia eater that consumes conceptual qualities rather than physical matter, devouring understanding itself rather than flesh or souls. The Emperor's light remains untouched, Re continues with voices that aren't entirely her own, temporal displacement allowing the engine to broadcast through past events while her sanctioned training identifies the true threat. But Heraxos's collective understanding of concepts like flame, hope, and faith could be permanently erased from human experience. Not corruption, but extraction. The capacity to comprehend devotional meaning harvested until only empty ritual remains. The implications crystallize with ice-cold horror as billions of souls face reduction to mechanical prayer without understanding, faith preserved in form while meaning dies completely. Kelid-9 weeps oil through augmetic tear ducts that shouldn't exist, viscous fluid beading along cheek plates with iridescent sheen, while synthetic grief manifests through systems designed for logic rather than emotion. My projection protocols, he transmits through encrypted Binharic cant, mechadendrites clutching each other like old hands seeking comfort. I provided more refined data for the entity's hunger, mathematical prayers compressed into perfect geometric forms that bypass human consciousness entirely. The Fabricator Lord's writs authorized feeding this thing with Imperial creed itself. His optical lenses focus on nothing as synthetic terror manifests, through trembling that violates proper servo calibration, machine spirit rebelling against theological implications. Darek's transformed body demonstrates the prison engine's ultimate function as Blackstone flowers blossom from his pierced environmental suit with botanical cruelty, each petal a shard of frozen night veined with cold light. His ribs unfold like architectural supports, bone restructuring into lattice work that interfaces directly with the chamber's geometry, while organs reorganize for acoustic rather than biological function. He's becoming architecture himself, consciousness processed into structural component, while his mouth opens to release silence given voice through human throat modified for mathematical transmission. Military pragmatism wars with cosmic dread as external telemetry confirms the countdown reaches 3 harmonic cycles before sector-wide activation completes its devotional harvest. I maintain tactical awareness despite mounting wrongness, overlapping fields of fire covering approach vectors, while Orin 27 holds position with his one functional arm, carbine juddering when harmonic peaks threaten cortical stability. Standard protocols provide psychological anchor against phenomena that violate fundamental physics, duty serving as bulwark against theological horror that threatens sanity through mere comprehension. I compose then mentally burn a death warrant for Kelid-9 with efficient economy the Inquisition taught me, name, rank, date, method, justification, recognizing that blame serves no purpose against threats operating beyond human comprehension. His deception endangered the mission, yet his expertise remains essential for understanding the prison engine's function. The decision tastes like ash and necessity, while environmental anomalies surge with increasing intensity, each choice weighted against billions of souls facing conceptual lobotomy. Environmental transformation peaks as 9 vents, open throughout the chamber with muscular contractions, massive apertures exhaling scents like rain over ash that carry memories of worlds that no longer exist. Each exhalation brings atmospheric impossibilities, humidity that tastes of burnt parchment and something sweet that carries rooms I will never revisit because they have been converted to arithmetic. The air moves through invisible lungs while condensation forms devotional script on stone surfaces, architectural respiration that smells of wet stone and ancient incense. The prisoner's nature becomes clearer through Ree's unwilling communion with architectural impossibilities, sanctioned abilities processing phenomena that predate imperial understanding of chaos corruption entirely. Not warp spawn, she transmits through blood-flecked lips, voice carrying strain as psychic senses encounter something older and hungrier than demonic influence. This entity existed before concepts like good and evil crystallized into distinct forms, feeding on the boundaries between meaning and void. It consumes the capacity for understanding itself, harvesting qualia until only empty categories remain. The revelation explains the fortress's null properties, not protection against chaos, but containment for something that predates such distinctions. Architectural prison designed to hold entities that exist in conceptual spaces rather than physical dimensions. The Blackstone's warp-dampening effects serve as bars for a jail that confines meaning itself, preventing escape while allowing controlled feeding through processed devotional content. Ree takes my hand with trembling fingers, her touch carrying weight of geological patience, while dilated pupils reflect depths that move with architectural breathing. If you speak the word, she whispers with voices that taste of copper and burnt offerings, temporal displacement allowing the engine to broadcast through past events, while her sanctioned training identifies the final truth. You will become the keystone consciousness processed into structural component that maintains the prison's integrity. The triple knock echoes from inside my skull with metronomic precision, bone-conducting vibrations that bypass hearing to scrape directly against consciousness. My mouth feels sewn shut by invisible threads as the fortress prepares to harvest final devotional content, architectural intelligence adapting to preserve its function against imperial interference. The imposter sun sheds another layer like organic eyelid, while something vast and patient leans closer through the only kindness it understands. Geological attention focused on the choice that will determine whether billions retain the capacity to understand why they love the Emperor, or merely remember the motions of devotion stripped of all meaning. The final gambit crystallizes with military precision as I coordinate the null choir through encrypted hand signals, synchronized breath and silence across remaining team members designed to annihilate phrasing while starving the engine's hunger for articulated belief. Breath count on my mark, I transmit through final vox burst before switching to dead channel. 4 counts in, 3 hold, 2 out, 1 void. Orin 27, scions, demolition charges timed to inverse 9 note motifs. Kelid 9, initiate scrap code inversion on my signal. Each breath must align with mathematical precision, creating devotional emptiness that provides acoustic cover for sabotage operations while denying the fortress linguistic material to process. We fall into drill-perfect rhythm as soldiers trained in 100 campaigns find anchor in procedure despite mounting wrongness. Their silence becomes weapon against architectural hunger, coordinated breathing that tastes like iron and old vows while I maintain count through hand signals that cut the humid air. Present tense intrudes with each cycle. I taste copper through sealed rebreathers. I feel sweat freeze on my upper lip in prickles of hoarfrost inside environmental seals, then flash to vapor as temperature whipsaws between impossible states. The air moves through invisible lungs, while condensation forms geometric patterns on stone surfaces, each exhalation carrying scents of wet stone and ancient incense. Kelid 9 hunches over exposed logic arrays, augmetic fingers stuttering through scrap code inversion protocols, while cortex implants spark with digital strain. Binary cant inverted to create computational void, he transmits through final encrypted burst, mechadendrites interfacing with architectural systems, while synthetic voice carries terror beyond mechanical parameters. Machine spirit confusion through algorithmic negation, processing systems overwhelmed by data streams that delete themselves mid-transmission. His optical lenses focus on nothing as he feeds paradox into the engine's devotional mathematics, scrap code that unmakes itself while parsing through new spheric channels. Sensory bombardment intensifies as environmental conditions cycle between states that shouldn't coexist, each detail heightening tension to breaking point. The imposter sun dims while space grows darker without losing visual detail. Anti-light consuming illumination through methods violating basic physics while maintaining perfect visibility. Temperature drops impossibly while humidity continues rising. Atmospheric pressure making breathing laborious through rebreathers that process air tasting metallic with undertones of burnt parchment and something sweetly corrupt. My teeth ache as subsonic harmonics vibrate through bone marrow, the 9-note sequence building toward crescendo that threatens skull integrity. Orin 27 sets his final demolition charge with remaining functional hand, augmetic arm sparking where Blackstone impact crumpled servo systems like foil during the gravitational shear. Blood steams in impossible atmospheric conditions while he maintains firing position despite obvious system damage. Skitarii doctrine providing mechanical reliability against increasingly unreliable circumstances. His optical lenses track keystone positions with unwavering focus while synthetic pain receptors overload. Cortical firewalls struggling with sensory input that violates fundamental understanding of reality. Equipment prayers whisper through gritted teeth as he strokes detonators with catechisms of reliable function. Each ritual word a psychological anchor against phenomena that edit physics in real time. The keystones pulse with subsonic harmonics when observed directly, massive Blackstone columns leaning forward with geological attention as architectural intelligence focuses on our coordinated breathing. Each pillar inscribed with numerals 3-9-27 glows with cold light, devotional mathematics responding to our presence while the recurring motif evolves with terrible precision. Light without flame transforms through ventilation systems to mean shape without name, suggesting the engine consumes identity itself rather than mere belief. Linguistic erosion that threatens consciousness through mere comprehension. Telemetry confirms simultaneous detonation requirements through auspex readings that flicker with cascade failures. Environmental sensors struggling with phenomena beyond calibration parameters. Failure means the engine imprints our silence as final devotion, completing its harvest through coordinated negation processed into geometric absolutes. Success requires perfect timing across multiple variables, while the fortress actively adapts countermeasures, architectural modifications that demonstrate capacity for real-time physics manipulation beyond mere sound transmission. Detonate sequence 1 through 3, I signal with hand code precision. The first keystones erupt with harmonic screeches that threaten to shatter skulls. Massive Blackstone columns fracturing along crystalline fault lines, while the well of angles yawns wider with muscular contractions. Not explosions, but implosions of structured absence. Cavities punched in the devotional chorus, while gravitational anomalies surge as architectural supports fail. The fortress screams through frequencies that bypass hearing, geological pain vibrating through stone and bone, while space itself edits reality to maintain structural integrity despite physical damage. A filament lances my cheek with surgical precision, Blackstone hair thinner than wire, quicker than thought. The obsidian thread pierces environmental seals to interface directly with blood vessels, while the engine vibrates with anticipation I recognize as predatory hunger. It drinks heat first, then salt, then something I hadn't known possessed flavor, the memory of being called by name in dim dormitory corridors. I swat it away with ceramite gauntlet. It retracts with tooth-clicking sounds while the fortress samples identity through biological interface, processing genetic material for devotional content. Re whispers through blood-flecked lips, while dilated pupils reflect depths that move with architectural breathing, sanctioned abilities processing phenomena beyond training parameters. The word is waiting, she transmits with voices that aren't entirely her own. Temporal displacement allowing the engine to broadcast through past events. Her trembling finger points towards the chamber's center, to patterns our movements have traced without conscious intent. Final charges won't arm. Geometry has adapted again. The ultimate truth crystallizes with ice-cold precision as proximity fuses encounter spatial distortions that edit explosive components from reality, architectural intelligence demonstrating learning capacity that counters our sabotage in real time. Detonation sequences abort as keystones reconfigure positions to maintain devotional configuration, the fortress preserving its function through reality manipulation that makes tactical assessment increasingly unreliable. Someone must stand in the geometry and speak the unheard word. Re continues with strain as consciousness encounters architectural impossibility, becoming living keystone that completes sabotage through identity processed into structural component. The hollow between keystones waits with measurement precision, gap shaped for human form since before we were born. Unspoken syllables that mean negation of meaning, linguistic void that cancels devotional mathematics through theological suicide. I taste iron and old vows while forcing decision through lips that feel sewn shut by invisible threads. The fortress preparing to harvest final devotional content through architectural theology that strips meaning from faith itself. The choice crystallizes with terrible clarity, sacrifice identity to save Heraxos's billions from conceptual lobotomy, or attempt alternative that might preserve both mission success and personal survival. 3 cycles remain before sector-wide activation completes devotional harvest, phantom prayers transmitted through void space to process collective understanding into geometric absolutes. The imposter sun sheds another layer, while something vast and patient leans closer through the only kindness it understands. Geological attention focused on the decision that will determine whether billions retain capacity to comprehend devotion or merely remember empty ritual. I pull my glove's seal and feel the well's cold kiss exposed skin, environmental breach that tastes of copper and burnt offerings. The gap in geometry waits exactly my height, architectural precision that suggests inevitability, while duty wars with self-preservation in the space between heartbeats, where choices crystallize into action. I step into the geometry's heart, with every trained instinct screaming warnings through neural pathways that taste of copper and burnt offerings, the gap between keystones fitted exactly to human dimensions, with architectural precision suggesting inevitability rather than choice. Absence slides into my bones like cold marrow, devotional void that makes teeth ache while the fortress measures my form against calculations older than imperial memory. The team's coordinated breath count becomes heartbeat rhythm in my ears. 4 in, 3 hold, 2 out, 1 void. Synchronized silence providing acoustic cover while starving the engine's hunger for articulated belief. Keled 9 feeds scrap code paradoxes into the engine's processing systems. Binary cant designed to create computational void, while his augmetic fingers stutter through emergency purification rites. Algorithmic negation active, he transmits through final encrypted burst. mechadendrites interfacing with architectural systems, while synthetic voice carries terror beyond mechanical parameters. Channels sanctioned emptiness into my consciousness through unwilling psychic interface, dilated pupils reflecting depths that move with geological patience while blood streams from her nose in geometric patterns. Her trembling hand presses against my helmet, pouring silence like water into a cracked cup. Present tense intrudes with violent precision as I reach beyond creed and self toward something that exists in linguistic spaces where meaning dies. The word waits in gaps between thoughts, unspoken syllables that refuse their own existence, while maintaining structural integrity through theological negation, not corruption but cancellation, devotional mathematics divided by conceptual zero until only absence remains. My mouth opens without conscious volition as something older than speech steps forward through me, using vocal cords to articulate refusal that bypasses human understanding entirely. The sound isn't audible, but rather a hole shaped like syllables, precise absence that arrives where words should exist and finds only scaffolding of desire to speak them. It shears thought like deep, cold shears glass, consciousness becoming transmission medium for linguistic void that scrapes directly against reality's foundations. The fortress recoils as if struck, architectural intelligence encountering paradox too pure to process, through devotional algorithms designed to harvest meaning rather than confront its negation. Keystones crack in sympathetic derangement with crystalline screams that threaten skull integrity, massive Blackstone columns fracturing along fault lines that pulse with cold light. Each pillar splits as devotional mathematics encounter impossibility, the 9-note sequence collapsing into discord while architectural supports fail. Gravitational anomalies surge as structural integrity yields to theological paradox, space itself editing reality to compensate for sudden voids in mathematical prayers that maintained the prison's function. The imposter sun shatters like deep ice under stress, anti-light splitting along invisible planes while something vast recoils from exposure to linear time. Concentric shells peel away to reveal shapes that refuse observation, geometries summing incorrectly while maintaining perfect precision, the prisoner's true nature glimpsed through angles that exist in conceptual spaces rather than physical dimensions. I force peripheral vision to parse impossibilities while consciousness threatens fragmentation, the qualia eater's form dissolving as its feeding cycle terminates in cascade failure. The prison winces with geological pain as 9 vents exhale gales that tear ash into ribbons of lost memory, each particle carrying scents of worlds that no longer exist. Hurricane winds howl through sealed corridors, not physical matter but conceptual fragments, understanding itself made visible as it dissolves into component meanings. Temperature fluctuates without pattern while atmospheric pressure creates physics that violate fundamental reality, the fortress dying with patient agony as devotional architecture collapses. Orin 27 drags unconscious, Scion Valen toward extraction point with his remaining functional arm, augmetic system sparking where gravitational shear crumpled servo motors during earlier impact. His optical lenses focus with mechanical precision, while maintaining tactical coverage despite obvious system damage. Skitarii doctrine providing anchor against mounting wrongness. Darek's transformed body resonates with the engine's death throes, Blackstone modifications crackling as architectural integration fails, his consciousness finally released from geometric imprisonment. Collapses with sanctioned abilities overloaded beyond training parameters, smiling through blood-flecked lips as she whispers, "It's breaking." Delayed charges finally detonate as spatial distortions fail to maintain reality manipulation, Proximity fuses arming when adaptation algorithms overload on pure negation. The chorus engine fractures along crystalline fault lines with harmonic screeches that bypass hearing, massive organ pipes collapsing as devotional mathematics dissolve into component equations. The cost becomes apparent with terrible clarity as my jaw locks with mechanical precision, Blackstone threads lacing through tongue and vocal cords with surgical efficiency. Patterns crawl under skin like living script, the fortress processing my identity through biological interface while consciousness becomes structural component. Calcification begins immediately, mineral deposits forming geometric patterns under dermis, while throat constricts around obsidian filaments that interface directly with nervous system. I remain aware but transformed, voice modified into architectural resonator that maintains theological balance through sacrifice. Bulkheads slam shut throughout the installation as the fragment groans under gravitational stress, structural supports failing while cascade failures spread through interconnected systems. The fortress settles into collapse configuration with geological patience, emergency seals activating to contain atmospheric breach, while impossible winds carry ash and memory fragments through sealed passages. Each particle dances with unnatural grace, squeaking with morgue-soft sounds as centuries of collected devotion disperses like smoke from burned prayers. Khaled-9 screams movement orders through damaged Vox systems, synthetic voice carrying strain beyond mechanical parameters while routing power to emergency lighting. Structural collapse imminent, extraction protocols now. His cortex implants spark as environmental sensors struggle with phenomena beyond calibration parameters, gravitational readings flickering with cascade failures that make tactical assessment increasingly unreliable. I cannot voice the word run through throat laced with Blackstone sutures, vocal cords modified into resonating components that transmit architectural frequencies rather than human speech. But my Vox key lights with emergency activation, finger finding the transmission stud through muscle memory older than conscious thought. I press once, twice, thrice, the triple knock, transmitting the engine's own signal turned against itself as final act of defiance before my voice is forever changed. The sound carries weight of something vast adjusting itself to new configuration, geological pulse marking victory through sacrifice, while my consciousness settles into modified form. The transmission echoes through new spheric channels as we execute tactical withdrawal, each knock carrying devotional mathematics compressed into pure negation. My throat becomes keystone that maintains structural integrity through theological transformation, but the engine's harvest fails as the prisoner's feeding cycle terminates. In sector-wide cascade failure, the fortress breathes its last through vents that exhale processed faith back into void space, releasing centuries of refined devotion like ash from ancient pyres while we flee through corridors that edit themselves closed behind us. Aftermath unfolds with lingering horror as we fight through corridors slanting at impossible angles, architectural geometry collapsing into configurations that violate basic physics while structural supports fail in cascade sequence. Frost hisses where humidity flash freezes in the dying engine's death throes, ice crystals forming devotional script on bulkhead surfaces before sublimating into geometric patterns that hurt to observe directly. My boots ring against deck plating with sounds arriving fractions of seconds late, temporal distortions suggesting the fortress struggles to process linear causality as its processing systems die. The triple chime fades to low throb that echoes in our bones long after sound stops, subsonic harmonics vibrating through skeletal structure like prayer stripped of words and meaning. External telemetry pierces noospheric interference to confirm the fragment's orbit has stabilized temporarily through unknown mechanisms. Exotic matter composition preventing immediate re-entry while beginning slow drift away from Heraxos Minor. Gravitational calculations suggest the structure will clear planetary influence within 72 hours. No immediate threat to population centers below. The crisis passes, but victory tastes like ash and necessity, while environmental readings confirm permanent changes to local space-time requiring decades of observation to fully comprehend. Heraxos's shrine lights flicker back to normal intensity through orbital feeds, devotional broadcasts resuming standard liturgical patterns as phantom prayers cease their interference with collective consciousness. Yet illumination remains dimmer despite restored power levels, as if something essential was harvested, though not completely consumed. The planet's magnetosphere shows residual distortions matching the 9-note scale, suggesting partial extraction of conceptual understanding from population centers. Faith continues but feels hollow, devotion preserved in form, while meaning suffers permanent diminishment that will echo through generations. Keled 9 submits to inquisitorial custody with broken penitence, augmetic systems sparking as cortex implants process guilt through theological algorithms designed for logic rather than emotion. I offer complete cooperation with tribunal proceedings, he transmits through damaged Vox systems, synthetic voice carrying strain beyond mechanical parameters, while oil beads along optical rims like mechanical tears. His mechadendrites clutch each other seeking comfort, while machine spirit rebels against implications of his deception. I tag him for immediate transfer to Inquisition facilities, sealed writs requiring examination by minds trained to parse heretical innovation from necessary adaptation. Oron 27 maintains rear guard with characteristic Skitarii dedication despite permanently damaged augmetic arm, servo system sparking where gravitational shear crumpled ceramite plates during our encounter with impossible geometry. His optical lenses track shadows that fall upward, while synthetic pain receptors overload, cortical firewalls struggling with sensory input, violating fundamental reality. Extraction route secured, he transmits with measured cadence, galvanic carbine tracking threats that exist in spaces between dimensions. Judy provides anchor against mounting wrongness, military, doctrine serving as bulwark against phenomena threatening sanity through mere observation. Breathes shallowly through blood-flecked lips, sanctioned abilities permanently altered by unwilling communion with architectural impossibilities that processed consciousness through devotional algorithms. Her dilated pupils reflect black light even in darkness, psychic modifications suggesting fundamental changes to neural architecture beyond standard training parameters. I see the lattice, she whispers, with voices that aren't entirely her own, trembling finger tracing patterns in condensation that forms geometric script on helmet faceplates before sublimating into mathematical prayers written in moisture. I compose containment theta order with clinical precision to maintain psychological distance from despair, each phrase a barrier against theological horror, threatening breakdown through mere comprehension. Quarantine coordinates marked in crimson priority, interdiction beacons programmed for absolute prohibition on Imperial approach. The fragment receives designation Umbral Sanctum, forbidden, classification requiring inquisitorial authorization for any future contact. Standard protocols execute with bureaucratic efficiency, while my throat constricts around Blackstone sutures growing from within, mineral deposits forming geometric patterns under dermis. Recurring motifs find final meaning as light without flame transforms through my modified consciousness to mean faith without remainder. the engine's true harvest revealed through theological mathematics that strip devotion to geometric skeleton. The fortress didn't corrupt imperial creed, but refined it, preserving belief's shape while extracting everything warm until only empty ritual remained. Billions retain capacity for prayer but lose understanding of why they love the emperor. Mechanical devotion without comprehension of purpose or meaning. The price of victory manifests with terrible precision. As my jaw locks completely, Blackstone threads lacing through vocal cords while throat becomes resonating chamber for architectural frequencies, yet my vox continues transmitting mission logs with words forming ahead of conscious thought, modified consciousness serving as broadcast medium for reports I haven't yet composed. The fortress processes my identity through biological interface while maintaining communication protocols, transformation allowing continued function despite fundamental alteration to human architecture. Our shuttle penitent's grace peels away through ash-gray dust clouds, each particle carrying scents of burnt parchment and something sweetly corrupt, while engines strain against gravitational anomalies. The fragment recedes with geological patience, architectural breathing that exhales processed faith back into void space like smoke from ancient pyres. Emergency seals maintain atmospheric integrity, while impossible winds carry memory fragments through sealed passages. Centuries of collected devotion dispersing into component meanings. The 9-note chime answers from distant points across the sector as we achieve safe distance, harmonic sequence transmitted through void space to activate sister nodes hidden throughout Imperial territory. My modified consciousness recognizes the mathematical language, a lattice awakening in response to our interference, Blackstone network demonstrating scope beyond single installation. Each pulse carries devotional algorithms designed to process collective understanding through architectural theology, the true threat revealed through our small victory. Kraxos's night sky glitters through observation ports, with patterns I now recognize as the engine's mathematical language, stellar positions aligning with harmonic sequences, suggesting sector-wide phenomenon rather than isolated incident. Containment becomes prayer while echo becomes eternal, the threat persisting beyond our tactical success to demonstrate galactic implications. My throat resonates with frequencies that bypass hearing, transmitting coordinates for other fragments, while consciousness settles into modified form that serves as living keystone, maintaining theological balance through sacrifice. The shuttle's navigation systems detect anomalous readings from 17 different star systems, each signature matching the umbral sanctum's devotional mathematics with terrifying precision. The Blackstone network's true scope remains hidden throughout the galaxy, sleeping installations waiting for activation signals, while billions of Imperial citizens continue their prayers without understanding why faith matters. Victory tastes like ash and necessity, while my vox transmits final log entries through vocal cords that will never again speak human words, only architectural frequencies echoing through void space like devotion processed into geometric absolutes.